Once, upon a midnight dreary, while I pondered weak and weary over many a quaint and curious pouch of diplomacy lore, while I nodded, nearly napping, suddenly there came a tapping, as of someone gently rapping at my chamber door. "'Tis some visitor," I muttered, tapping at my chamber door. Could be Tanya Gill, or somehow shield, or with promise filled, or perhaps a diplomacy brother to bore. Only this, and nothing more. Distinctly I remember it was in the bleak December, and each separate dying ember wrought its ghost upon the floor. Eagerly I wished the morrow my centers he had sought to borrow. I'd read my game report of sorrow, sorrow that my ally had chosen war. For the rare and radiant alliance we'd named on DBN before, nameless now forevermore. And the silken, sad, uncertain rustling of each purple curtain bustling thrilled me, filled me with Hackenbrachtian terrors never felt before. So that now, to still the beating of my heart, I stood repeating, "'Tis some diplomacy visitor entreating entrance at my chamber door. Some late Preval or Chevan entreating entrance at my chamber door. This it is, and nothing more." Presently my soul grew stronger, hesitating then no longer. "Sir," said I, "or madam, truly your forgiveness I implore. But just now me, my former friend, was trapping, and so gently you came rapping, and so faintly you came tapping at my chamber door, that I scarce was sure I heard you. Not a raucous clamor did you leaven, like some O'Kelly ruffian Jim, or Kevin, or any other Chicagoland boor. So here I opened wide the door. Darkness there, and nothing more. Deep into that darkness peering long I stood there, wondering, fearing I'd see foul Schaefer or Kelman sneering, doubting, dreaming dreams none but Tombstone himself dared to dream before. But the silence was unbroken, and the stillness gave no token, and the words there next were spoken, "My supply centers you would restore." This I whispered, and an echo murmured back the word, "Restore." Merely this, and nothing more. Back into the chamber turning, the full-stabbed soul within me burning, like escaped from Pale or Eber yearning. Soon again I heard a tapping, somewhat louder than before. "Surely," said I, "surely that is something softly low, not some boisterous go-horns go from some Ed Sullivan's really big shoe. Let me see, then, what it is in this tapping mystery explore. My France's doomed defense no longer over to pour, and this audacious superstitious mystery explore. 'Tis the wind and nothing more." Open here I flung the shutter, when with many a flirt and flutter, in there stepped a stately raven of the saintly days of yore. Just as black as the German pieces, their foul deed my ally increases, evidence of his treacherous caprices. And as bold as all that, perched above my chamber door, after a vintage diplomacy world his talons tore, perched upon a bust of Allen, just above my chamber door. Perched and sat, nothing more. Then this ebony bird beguiling my said fancy into smiling, by the grave and stern decorum of the silverman countenance it wore. Though thy crest be shorn and shaven, thou, I said, unlike the German, art no craven, ghastly grim and ancient raven wandering in from the nightly shore, as if some shriveled spook of Zachary Moore. Tell me, when my Charlemagne alliance shall return from that Plutonian shore. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Much I marvelled this fowl should speak diplomacy discourse with menace, as though bespoke by some Russ Dennis, or Carthic Coneth with designs on Venice, though its answer little meaning, little relevancy bore. For I cannot help agreeing that no conch, or actual human being, ever yet was blessed with seeing a bird above his chamber door. A bird who would tell me that my carefully tended FG would never again be what it was before, with such name as Nevermore. But the raven, sitting lonely on the placid bust, spoke only that one word, as if his soul in that one word he did outpour. Nothing further than he uttered about my Belgium the German had shuttered, till I scarcely more than muttered, fiends like Pod or Rink have stabbed before. Unless a village idiot or Ewok, or Hellenic Ryan or Seriquok, he will fly back, and FG Alliance lock, as sloppy sloth and barking buffalo have flown back before. Then the bird said, nevermore. Startled at the stillness broken by reply so aptly spoken. Doubtless, said I, what it utters is its only stock and store, as speaks a mast bomb bruised and sore. He can't know that I can master this unearned, unmerciful disaster, followed fast and followed faster, with the stab of centers more. Till the dirges of his hope that melancholy burden bore of never, never more. But the raven still beguiling all my fancy into smiling, straight I wheeled a diplomacy board in front of bird and bust and door. Then, showing the stark German moves, I wondered whom his stab behooves, or harebrained diplostrat thought it proves, and thinking what this ominous Creole-like bird of yore, what this grim, ungainly, ghastly, gaunt, and ominous bird of yore meant in croaking nevermore. This I sat engaged in guessing, but no syllable expressing, to the fowl whose fiery gothy eyes now burned into my bosom's core. Not just Belgium no longer possessing, but Brest and Paris the kraut caressing. Thus my condition most distressing on the European map that the lamplight gloated o'er. But whose lost centers were that lamplight gloating o'er, I shall rediscover nevermore. Then methought the air grew denser, perfumed from an unseen censer, swung by nexus subi seraphim, whose footfalls tinkled on the tufted floor. Wretch, I cried, thy Hun hath lent thee by these stab-happy angels. He hath sent thee respite, and nepenthe from thy memories of my former tribute score. Quaff, oh quaff this kind nepenthe, and reforge my FG as before. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Prophet, said I, thing of evil, prophet still if bird or devil, with a German scent or Maletsky tossed thee here ashore. Desolate yet all undaunted, to my France now violet, vaunted, on this board as if by Cragmare haunted. Tell me truly, I implore, is there German peace to be had? Is there balm in Gilead? Will I get aid from Chris Brand? Tell me, I implore. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Prophet, said I, thane of evil, prophet still, if Riaz or devil, by Alan Calhammer's ghost above us, by Eddie Besson we both adore. Tell this soul with sorrow filled, if though our Charlemagne alliance be killed, a new pact with him I rebuild. Surely renewed FG he'd explore. Though much blood and tears be spilt, my entreaties that Hun would not ignore. Quoth that raven, nevermore. Be that word a sign of parting, bird or fiend, I shrieked, upstarting. Get thee back to dark Berlin, or Brendan Fogel's lakeside shore. Leave no black plume as a token of that lie thy soul hath spoken. Leave my diplomacy loneliness unbroken. Quit the bust above my door. Take thy beak from out my heart, and take thy form from off my door. Quoth the raven, nevermore. And the raven, never flitting, still is sitting, on the pallid bust of Calhammer, just above my chamber door. And his eyes have all the seeming of a dancing queen who's dreaming, and the lamplight o'er him streaming throws his shadow on the floor. And France's soul from out that German shadow that lies floating on the floor shall be lifted nevermore. Happy Halloween.